We'll have one or two more introductions.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. I feel that you presented a very deep picture in your presentation of the world, as you say, at the global, regional, and domestic level. You said that the US was weak under Obama, and that's why it created that the problems in West Asia because they sided with the wrong people, and or whatever. They didn't support their allies, the traditional allies. And I think what you meant was that the growing influence of Iran in the region is probably because of Obama's policy in the region. I'm not really sure. I'd like you to expand on that. And you said that the situation in that the Arabs are hopeless because they do not feel that
they are in a hopeless situation.
And even the Europeans are irresponsible and they will lead. So what do you see in the future? What do you see? How do you resolve this hopeless situation in West Asia? How do you get the situation balanced? What do you think would be the best for the greater influence of US? Then what kind of influence of the US would be would help the region? Because you also said that what they did in Iraq was something which should have happened. What they did in Libya was not something that should have happened, or in Afghanistan. So what kind of policies by the US do you think? Because there is a role, you cannot deny that external powers do have a role in the way the order in West Asia is shaping up, or have been in the past.
I don't think I've given a bleak picture, I think I've given a realistic picture. And in the real world, very rarely problems have solutions. You can make a situation better, and that's an enormous achievement, even if you don't solve the problem. Let me give you two examples. Poverty has no solution. But you can bring poverty from an unacceptable level to an acceptable level. There will always be poverty. So if the question is, why don't you find a solution? My answer is the only thing in life that has a solution is a crossroad puzzle. Other things don't have a solution. Crime doesn't have a solution. If you have a very effective enforcement system, law enforcement system, you can bring crime from an unacceptable level down to an acceptable level. And if people say there is a problem, and say there is a solution, then at best they don't understand what's going on, and at worst they're cheating. For instance, when people tell you, and they did tell us, there is a solution for poverty, it's called communism. And the inevitable consequences of trying for this solution was tyranny. That was worse than poverty. Okay? I mean, think of what Stalin did to his own people in the 1930s. Millions were killed in the name of a solution to poverty. Cheating myself as if there is an international community when prominent voices in this community are the Syrians, the Libyans, the Sudanese, the Yemenis, the North Koreans, the Cubans, the Venezuelans, namely the worst nations possible, okay, is just cheating myself to feel good. I don't cheat myself to feel good. And therefore, what I'm saying is, we are today in a much better situation we, the human race, is in a much, much better situation than it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. But a lot of the problems are still with us, and if somebody would have cheated himself and others by saying that we have a solution, we shouldn't take it seriously. I mentioned before, Europe turned itself from a slaughterhouse, think of the 30 Years' War, for instance, to a place where people have a very good life. Is Europe perfect? No. Does it have many problems? Yes. Is everybody in Europe happy? No. But is Europe today 100 times better than 100 years ago? Yes, it is. Is the United States in a better situation today? For instance, do you have total equality for blacks in the United States? No. Is it 100 times better than in 1965? Yes. You take every responsible policy should start with a realistic assessment. If I were a politician, my job would be to give people hope. And then I may cheat them. But my job is academic. It is analytical. And analytical, I must give a true picture. And without the true picture, there cannot be a good policy. I think that when we speak about something like the international community, we cheat ourselves. And when we cheat ourselves, we create a situation where the basic values of democracy and human rights are prostituted by the United Nations. And I think that that's a very bad thing. Because if the Human Rights Council in the United Nations, comprised of nations that are mostly either non-democratic or autocratic or dictatorial, or the Europeans who cheat themselves and therefore they abstain from votes. Okay? They know better because what they do in their own countries is fine. But they cheat themselves and they cheat everybody else. Not only is it not helping, I think it is undermining the chances of getting human rights further than strengthened. Concerning Iran and the United States and Obama, Obama did not invent the Iranian ambition to have nuclear weapons, or the Iranian aggression, or the Iranian anti-Semitism, or what have you. This is Iranian. But Obama made it possible for the Iranians to proceed with their military nuclear project and get away with it. And I think it's a major mistake. He was buying relative tranquility for 10 years at the expense of a catastrophe at the end of 10 years. This is exactly what we called in Europe in the 1930s a policy of appeasement. And therefore, I think it's counterproductive. Did he have good intentions? Yes. Is he a nice person? Yes. Should he be the President of the United States? In my view, no. Do I like Trump? Do I like his personality? Certainly not. But you don't have the choice of having 100% of what you want. Richard Nixon had a very unpleasant personality. Yet, if you get the United States out of Vietnam and you prevent the nuclear war, you have my permission to be nasty. Okay? Now, my grandmother used to say, she was a great strategist, she used to say, it's better to be young, rich and healthy than old, sick and poor. Of course, it would be very nice if everybody had all the qualities. But the world doesn't work this way. And realism is the first step to making the world better, or making the world less bad than it is. And less bad is good enough. perfect world, people who speak about the perfect world should move to Europe. It is the La La Land where they belong. I'm not suggesting you're saying it, I'm just explaining why I don't think my perspective is a depressing. It is realistic, and therefore it says, here is what we have achieved in Europe, in Israel, in India. Here is something that we cannot achieve unless the people who want it achieve, say, democracy in the Arab world. And here is what we need to defend, even if we have to go to war. Because war is not the worst thing. It is the second worst thing. The worst thing is capitulation to evil, or to things that will have terrible effects at a later stage.
Thank you. So I think it's sort of
So, I would like to believe that current world circumstances are a consequence of cause and effect. I completely agree when you say there's a lack of contribution by the Arabs to this world. Because they have been spoiled by the riches of oil and partly by their backward cultural disposition. In the similar way, I think the inostility faced by Jews over ancient times has resulted in such a prosperous state that Israel is today. But how do Israelis justify the alleged occupation and annexation of land claimed by the state of Palestine, although many choose not to recognize it?
First of all, a technical correction on the factual level. There is no such thing as the state of Palestine.
That's what, although many choose not to recognize them as a state.
There is no such thing. The question if you recognize it or not, there is no such thing. Okay? By the way, I don't have an opposition in principle to a Palestinian state if the Palestinians are not trying to undermine the existence of Israel. Look, in war, you occupy the territory of the people who attacked you. For instance, the Allies occupied Germany in the Second World War, and a large part of Germany, where Germans have lived for hundreds of years, is today Poland. And 12 million Germans were driven out of Poland, of what is today Poland, and used to be Germany. The city of Breslau is now Wrocław, and 12 million Germans who lived there for many hundreds of years were expelled from it. You make war, you may lose territory. Now, in the 1967 war, Israel was attacked by Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. To a very large extent, because Palestinians were behind the motivation for the war as Arabs explained it to their own people. The objective was to destroy Israel for the Palestinians in 1967. We occupied the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank. We reached an agreement with the Egyptians and gave them back the Sinai Peninsula, in itself twice the size of Israel. And this peace agreement is working very well since 1979. So we're speaking of 40 years where it's working very well. By the way, the Egyptians have no right to bring large numbers of tanks and aircraft into this area. They asked Israel's permission to bring a large number of tanks and aircraft in order to fight ISIS in Sinai. Israel gave the permission, and today we have excellent relations with the Egyptians, intimate relations with the Egyptians. We occupied the Golan Heights from Syria. We offered the Syrians, I don't think it was a good idea, but we did offer the Syrians the Golan Heights in exchange for peace. The Syrians demanded also an access to the only Israeli water source, namely the Sea of Galilee, and were not willing to give full peace. It didn't work out. I guess we will stay in the Golan Heights forever, and I think it's a good idea. You make war, you lose territory. It reduces your incentive for the next war. Somebody doesn't like it, you can protest with the United Nations, and we'll all have a good laugh. When it comes to the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, Israel accepted in the Oslo process 25 years ago that it will withdraw from the majority of these territories, and the Palestinian entity will be established in these territories. And then it gave over the cities in these territories to the Palestinians, and the result was a campaign of terrorism of the kind that no democratic society ever suffered. To give you one example, if people in Tel Aviv had two children in the same school, they would send them to school in different buses, because the Palestinians would put bombs in buses, and parents hoped that if a certain bus is being bombed, at least one of the children will remain alive. And the people who killed Israeli civilians in a barbaric, subhuman way were the heroes of all the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people have one set of heroes. You kill Jews, you are a hero. And by the way, your family is paid about 4 or 5 times the salary that anybody in Palestine or in the Palestinian territories can make for the rest of their lives, because they killed a Jew. And they said openly, this is only the first stage before we undermine Israel. In 2008, for the last time, the Palestinians were offered such a historic compromise. They rejected it. And if you ask me, the chances of them reaching an agreement with Israel are 0. It was always 0, it is 0. My political position in Israel, unfortunately I'm a minority, but my political position is to withdraw from the majority of the West Bank, not because the Palestinians deserve it, they don't. Not because it will bring peace, it won't. Because I don't want to cohabitate with the Palestinians in the same state. So I would unilaterally withdraw from it. But no matter what we do, Palestinians say, everybody that comes says, no matter what we get, we will still seek to destroy Israel by demographic means, what they call the right of return, namely to bring millions of Palestinians into what is Israel today. Okay? So, this is a product, the occupation is a product, A, of an aggressive war, attempting to destroy Israel, and in addition to it, the unwillingness to terminate the conflict without trying to destroy Israel inside the bounds of Israel, when every child that is in the Palestinian educational system is taught that the very existence of Israel is illegitimate.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to correct you on one. Actually, I have two, three things to say. Do we have some time? Wasn't 1967 a preemptive war? Israel attacked? No? Okay.
There was...
no wonder the Egyptian army was caught napping when Israel went into Sinai. Sinai shot of 100 kilometers short of fire.
I'll give you the full answer to that.
Yes, and secondly, how is Iran a threat to the US? It might be a threat to allies or a perceived threat to allies in the region, but how is it a direct threat to the United States?
Okay.
Okay. Second, and third, you said Israel is a democracy anchored in the region, all fine for Jewish people, and it's all okay. I mean, India has good relations, and well, I work on Israel, and I just completed a book on Israel, and it's all right. But how do you believe that there is discrimination against the Arab citizens of Israel? Are they citizens or not first? Do you consider them as citizens? And secondly, are they, is there any kind of discrimination that they face? The professors in Haifa have written a lot about it. But do you believe that there is? And what kind of, if I dissent against a law in India, nobody tells me that if you don't like this country, leave, because I don't have another passport. I mean, I'm not as lucky as some of the Israeli Jewish people are who have multiple passports. So if you tell an Arab who is protesting against something that they consider discriminatory, you tell them, if you don't like it, just leave. Who will take them? Don't you know that Palestinians were not welcome in Syria, in Lebanon, and they live in refugee camps? There is a dimension, a political dimension to it, definitely, that the issue was kept alive. I understand that, but also that they were treated very badly in all these Arab countries. So where do they live? I mean, I want to, this is something. I hope you are a minority when you're saying this. Not many Jewish people think that way, and they do accept. And I know many people and many academics in the Hebrew University where I've been, I have studied for some time. That they won't say something of this sort. So this is something that I find very jarring. You just can't say you leave. Something of that sort. Thank you.
Well,
could we take all the questions together?
I will forget. Please let me respond to these three. First of all, you must make a distinction between a preventive war and a preemptive strike. Okay? In 1967, Nasser gathered around Israel a big coalition of Arab countries who said, literally, we come to destroy the state of Israel. This is our objective. Okay? And he was massing up his forces with not only the intention but also the orders given to the troops to attack Israel, and the idea was to destroy the state of Israel. And he was in alliance with the Jordanians. By the way, the Jordanian army had an Egyptian commander, and the king could not do anything about the Jordanian army. The king